Hey students, welcome to another Mr. Ness screencast. Today's aim is the von Tunin model of land use. And here are your objectives. Please pause the video, look these questions over, and get ready to copy some vocab terms and take some notes. Today, we are looking at a model of land use. Land use means just what it sounds like. What land is used for. The purpose of a specific piece of land. Or what types of things get done on it. Today, we're focusing on agricultural land use, the different ways that land in the countryside can be used by farmers. And we're going to look at a model that predicts how agricultural land use will be used. Let's review the term model. In geography, a model is a prediction of how a process will occur. It's often correct, which is why it's used to make predictions. But it's not always true. And on the AP exam, you need to know several different models and you need to know some contradictions to them. In other words, some times when those models are not correct. Take a look at this list of models you've already learned about. See if you can remember what each of these models says. And if you can't, take a moment to Google them or ask me in class. You should be familiar with all of these so far. Here is the model that is our focus today. It's called the von Tunin model of land use, and it describes agricultural land only. This model has nothing to do with cities or suburbs or industrial areas. It's only about how land is used in rural areas where most people are farmers. This man is Johann Heinrich von Thunen. He was a 19th century German economist who predicted that in a capitalist economy in which producers are trying to maximize their profits, farmers will always end up using land in very predictable ways and with very predictable spatial patterns. Von Thunen's Germany in the 19th century was exactly this type of economy, and he was able to observe the spatial patterns he predicted in the German countryside. Von Thunen's model describes the relationship between land use and the distance from a town or market where farmers could sell their goods. In other words, it predicts that depending on how far a farmer is from the nearest town or market, that farmer will use their land for a very specific, predictable purpose. I want to remind you that this model only applies to places with commercial agriculture and a capitalist market economy in which farmers have surplus to sell and are looking to sell it for maximum profit. Von Thunen's model relies on three factors or variables that explain why the prediction makes sense. The first one is cost of land. And this one relies on a very important principle in geography. Land that is close to a town or city is expensive, and as you move farther from the town or city, the land becomes cheaper. So there is an inverse relationship between the cost of land and its distance from a town or city. I'll say that again. The land close to the city always costs more, and land farther from a city always costs less. The cost of land is an especially important factor for farmers who practice extensive activities, like grazing cattle, which require a lot of land. The second factor is the cost of transportation. In other words, how much do farmers have to pay to get their goods to the town or market where they can be sold? And this factor depends mostly on the weight of the goods and the distance that the goods have to travel. Von Tunin lived in a mostly pre-industrial world, and his model imagined a flat landscape in which goods had to be carried on foot or pulled by horses. Heavy goods like lumber are more difficult to transport and will therefore cost more to move to the market. The last factor is perishability, which means the speed at which products spoil or rot, and at which point they can't be sold anymore. Some goods, like lumber, take years to spoil. Others, like wheat, will spoil slowly over the course of several months. And others, like milk, will spoil very quickly in just a few days. Before we finish, take a moment to review the prediction that von Thunen's model makes and the three variables that the model focuses on. All right, it's time to review the objectives. If you don't know the answer to any of them, rewind the video and look again. See you in class. Bye, students.